Hello and welcome to the most incredible marketing show ever. I'm Craig Valine, your host. In today's episode, we dive into marketing mythbusters, where we challenge the conventional wisdom of marketing with the razor-sharp teachings of Dan Kennedy. As usual, I'm joined by my panel of Dan Kennedy certified experts, IBAs, friends, peers. They're wonderful people. Thank you. Say hello. We'll dissect and debunk widespread marketing myths and validate strategies that truly work. So expect enlightening discussions, eye-opening revelations, and actionable insights as our expert panel bring real-world examples to the table. And whether you're a seasoned marketer or a curious newcomer, today's episode will equip you with the knowledge to elevate your marketing game. So let's bust some myths and uncover the truths in marketing. So that was an exciting script to read. All right. So, Richelle, share with me a marketing myth that we can bust.
Gosh, that it's that any new tactic will work, right? Mm-hmm. So new tactic meaning, I should go on TikTok, right? I should go on, gosh, well, did you see how many users are there? Or I should run Facebook ads, right? And so here's what happens is that if you haven't figured out how to make it work with the simplest marketing that you're currently using, if you can't get on a call, say what you do and have people say, ooh, tell me more, then you putting it on TikTok, you putting on Facebook ads, it ain't going to work there either. And so many people, I believe this myth of the tactic is going to help them, or the webinar, or the whatever, right? Instead of understanding that you've got to make sure that your foundation is solid before you go on anything, period, right? And so as you go through the different myths, I will watch them jump around to different things. Oh, I'm doing a webinar. Oh, I'm writing a course. Or I'm really, so you just working for free? I don't work for free. I don't like to work for free. And that's what you end up doing, is just working for free when you don't follow, like making sure that you have the right foundation before you even get started.
That was probably one of the best things I could have thought of to start out this episode, because
we didn't even practice that.
If you can't sell on the phone or in person, how are you going to sell on a webinar or TikTok or Instagram? That's brilliant. Thank you. Ben, share with us a marketing myth that you're aware of and bust it.
Well, before then, I think I have to this is like the support group for the shiny object syndrome, right? So I'm very guilty of that, Richelle, especially being heavily into the marketing tech side of things. There's always something new to try or some kind of new AI to play with. And yeah, if you can't sell on the phone, AI is not going to sell on the phone for you, right, if you haven't gotten that messaging down. The one that came to mind for me is kind of a two-sided one, and that's the myths around branding. Either from the side that leads with branding, kind of typical commercials and things like that. Like before I got introduced to Dan Kennedy and direct response, I thought, oh, well, this is how you advertise, is you had to be sort of flashy and unique and, get the Super Bowl ads and things like that. And then in the direct response world, it's the tendency is that the branding doesn't matter at all. It kind of goes in the opposite way. And so I guess that's the myth I would like to tackle or bust, is that branding doesn't matter. Branding has its place, I think, is the important thing to keep in mind. If you're doing the branding without any direct response, it's all kind of all talk, no action.
Right.
But if you're doing the direct response without the branding, it's action only without personality and kind of building that long-term loyalty. So I think there's a way to balance those. I think you have to be able to have the direct response as your foundation, but the way you go about it needs to build some sort of loyalty. And on a previous episode, Richelle was kind of alluding to this in terms of when she was presenting information about Dan Kennedy, information from Dan Kennedy, which is great. We've all been and trained on that and certified. But what Richelle's people were telling her is, we want more Richelle. And so that's an example of, Richelle was using all the tactics, all the direct response mechanisms, but she was able to bolster that and build a long-term following by being Richelle.
Right.
And if you know Richelle, there's no other way to be than to be Richelle.
Editable moment. Hold on 1 second. I gotta let my cat out.
Everyone freeze. Don't move.
Well, that's a first.
I didn't want to leave the screen open, so I'm like going, stop it, stop. All right. Thanks, Ben. One of my teachers uses something called intent-based branding, and that means branding with the intent to lead someone to action. So it has calls to action, it has personality-driven marketing in it, it has direct response elements to it. So branding alone, especially for the small business owner, is not a great strategy. So that's a good one. And one thing that we've learned, especially through Dan Kennedy, is personality-driven marketing. And I know that people may initially come to me for the marketing help, but they stay with me because of the relationship that I have with them over time. They either like me or they hate me. If they hate me, they're not going to stick around. So that's a great example. Chuck.
Me too.
Chuck, hold on a second. Richelle has her hand up.
No, I said me too. I am polarizing. Either you get me, and you go, oh, I love her, or you're like, oh yeah, no, hell no. Please.
I would say that for almost all of us, all of our panel, is that they either like us or they hate us. And I use my son in my marketing, affectionately known as Mini Me and College Boy and everything. And I remember getting one email from someone who attacked me for it. She goes, I don't want to hear about you pooping on the toilet and all that stuff, and which I never had mentioned. But the point was telling her every detail about my life. And she goes, your mini me is not a mini me. He's going to grow up to disappoint you and all that stuff. And I'm like, you're welcome, for all the help that I was able to give you. But, if you don't want to come, you don't have to come. If you don't want to read the emails, you don't have to read the emails.
There's an unsubscribe button right there.
Yeah,
exactly. But people feel like they got to tell you.
Away.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sergeant Chuck, Marketing Mythbuster.
Well, just before we get into that, one of Kennedy's strategies was repel to attract, and that's what we all do. I think that hate is too strong a word to use, but they either love you or they think you're an asshole, and either way, they aren't going to follow you if they think you're an asshole. And by the way, if I think they're an asshole, I'm not working with them either, so it works both ways.
Amen. Yeah. Amen. Amen.
So, what myth I want to talk about is you can only build your business, have business growth by getting new customers. I mean, all of us have people coming to us all the time saying, God, I got to have 50 new customers. Help me get 50 new customers. I know Kennedy would tell them, well, I don't know one way to get you 50 new customers, but I know 50 ways to get you one. Get them one at a time, right? So Kennedy, Glazier Kennedy's surveys and whatnot revealed that it cost 5 times as much to get a new customer as it does to get more business from existing customers, referrals, or lost clients. And so in order of the ranking of these, the quickest way to get more business is number 1, through your existing clients. 2 is through referrals. 3 is lost. And the last one is the new client thing, both from a cost and from a time spent aspect of it. There's a quote from Kennedy, which I'll read. Virtually every business owner fails to fully mine the gold in his own customer list while running around everywhere else hunting up the next new customer. So what I did, I think we all, when we're called on to speak, maybe at the last minute, or we don't have time to prepare or whatever, have signature speeches. I think I have a couple of them. One of them is Chuck's 21 strategies for growing your business from your existing clients. And I have a bunch of 21 examples, obviously, but 5 of them are sell larger quantities. The second one would be sell related or complementary products or services. When I was in the golf business, someone wanted to buy golf balls from me. Well, I wanted to sell them, but I made no money on, but I had to be sure they walked out of the store with a glove, which I made lots of money on. line extensions, adding new products and services. I'm working with a medical supply distributor right now. We've added product lines to increase his business because some of his clients would rather buy some of the stuff he didn't have from him than others. Starting VIP groups or masterminds from your existing list to add revenue for that. And another one of my top 5 would be, or I guess I got 6 there, I can't count. No, it's just 5, I'm sorry. Unexpected free gifts. Sending your client list out of the blue for no reason. You send them something nice, whether it be the nice cookies or maybe the boomerang that isn't cracked or whatever the case may be. But yeah, that's my thing. Mythbuster is only new customers will drive business growth because it's the slowest way to grow your business.
I love that. Chuck, because literally after I helped the OBGYN, right? I had an optometrist that was there in Arizona where you are. He called me and said, please come help me. I was like, I'd love to. And so I said, well, fill this out. And so he had 30,000 existing patients just right there in Arizona, right? And right in the Phoenix area. I'm like, well, are there like total, market? Like there are nobody else. He wanted new. I said, you have got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. So we did this crazy thing is we did, it was on 11/11/11. So that's dating some of, you could still see the gray, right? And we sent out the simplest postcard. And on it, because it was 11/11/11, you could get, $22 off. You could get 33% off. Like we kept graduating the percentages off. Simple postcard. So we send it out to the 30,000. Okay. And when you have 30,000, we've got to have a small little postcard because it does get, pretty expensive. And I said, so I called to check on it as we do. Hey, how's it going? Right. And I said, so how'd it go? He's like, yeah, it was our biggest sales day ever. Really?
Yeah.
Really? After, right? You'd been open 22 years already.
Right.
22 years. Biggest sales day in history from just doing, stop it with that getting new. Stop it. Let's just go cultivate those that are already sitting there. Yeah. Oy vey. Isn't that
Oy vey.
Yeah, one of my favorite Dan Kennedy quotes is typically people look at it as the purpose of the customer is to get the sale. Like get the customer, make a sale, on to the next. Right. But he said the purpose of the sale is to get the customer.
To get a customer.
Just start that engagement. Once you haven't repelled them, Chuck, then when they're in there, you make that sale, you start, that's the beginning of your relationship with your customers.
Well, I don't know about you. I know Richelle definitely, and forgive me for not knowing specifically about you two gentlemen, but I've had people with me for 16 years. These people stuck with me again from the personality that I have shared with them, and I've revealed a lot of my life with them because they kind of went through it at the same time with me, unique experiences. But when I was in Las Vegas, I had a very difficult time. And they came together and said, we need to stand by Craig. That's a solid relationship that, with people who stuck by me and were willing to go through. Dan Kennedy says the same thing when he had his drinking problem, right? He, stopped drinking, but that changed everything. And look at the lifers who come out of there to sharing their stories with him because they have that connection, So that is extremely powerful. There are many myths. And thank God this is a theme that we can go on and on and on for. But, one of them is, but Craig, my business is different. Craig, that came from, but Bill, my business is different. But, the point being is that no business is inherently different. The strategies remain the same. The tactics make change. It's like, because everybody needs a customer, whether you call that a patient, a member, a client, a customer, whatever it is, you need that to thrive. Donors, right? For fundraising, whatever it is, that's a strategy that we can help you with. That everything that we're kind of talking about. And then just as you all just kind of shared about the customer being gold, it's like, I have a friend who is a fundraising, she's in charge of development for one of the big, huge arts things in Los Angeles. And guess what she does every year? She takes her most significant donors on trips, relationships. She goes to Israel, she'll go to Africa, she'll go to Italy. She takes them because she's nurturing that relationship. So that is done in the fundraising realm. But could we do that? I held a reunion dinner when I came back from Las Vegas, and I had a tremendously bad time, and I recovered. As like first thing I did was take everybody out to dinner to recoup. Hey, we're back. What would you like to see happen? What would like to go on? And they're all still very close to me. And so, the thing is, my business is not different. Your business is not different. All we have to do is adjust the strategy to the right tactic. So we have time for one or two more. You got any? Raise your hand if you do. Go ahead, Richelle.
Always, right? There's always that I only need to be on social media.
Yeah.
That as long as I'm on social media, I don't need to do anything else, right? And so Chuck had talked about earlier about when Dan, told the story about the chiropractor who just built $1 million practices, right? And they asked him, well, how did you do it? And he said, well, I knew I needed 72 new customers a month. And he's like, well, what's the one way to get 72? He's like, I don't know one way to get 72, but I know 72 ways to get one. Right. And so with it, so many folks think that they only need to be on social media. And when you say, well, what else are you doing? They go, oh, well, but I'm taking and talking, and I'm doing reels, and I'm doing YouTube, and no, that's all one thing. Or when I talk to them, it's like, their schedule is filled with all these chamber events and networking. And I'm like, okay, but what else are you doing? Oh, but I'm doing a lot. No. That's only one way, right?
Right.
Like, you need to do more than one way to get business to come in. And it's not just the same thing every single month, unless it's working, right? But even if it is working, imagine what could really happen if you did multiple things that were all bringing in. I call them slot machines, right? So like in Vegas, if you had a slot machine that was hitting every single time, and I'm a Vegas girl, right? You would play all of them. You'd put $100 in, $100 in, $100, and you keep playing all of them because they were all generating cash for you. So don't just get stuck in, I only need to be on social media, posting and praying, or even just doing Facebook ads. If that's just your way of getting traffic to your funnels or to your business, or have your phone ring, one is the worst number. Isn't that what Dan always tells us?
Yeah. I call that tactical diversity. Multiple tactics working at the same time for the same goal of attracting more new clients, or for the sake of whatever goal you have, right?
I love it.
Bill used to call it diversity creates stability. So very powerful strategy. Ben, what do you have to say?
Yeah, and mine's actually a little counterproductive because I do so much with marketing automation, but my myth to bust is automate everything. Because I find so many people get so caught up into trying to figure out how to automate everything that they don't pay attention to like just actually getting the customers in the first place. And so I think a lot of times, if you can just get some customers, even if you're emailing the first ones, personally, if you're only talking about, getting 10 or 20 people, you're going to get a lot more insights by even copying and pasting and making a little bit of your own personalization and just sending those out and sort of inviting responses. And then from that, you can use that to build automations and scale. But if you focus so much on how can I automate everything right from the beginning, you're going to spend more time spinning your wheels and not actually getting in front of the customers. In some ways, that automation is a little bit of a crutch, right? It's like, here's me, here's the automation, here's the customer, and you lose some of that connection. So while automation is important, and you should, go to marketingfunnel.com and learn more about it, it's a myth to think that you should just automate everything right from the start.
Well,
my last one would be direct mail is dead. We all hear that all the time. You talk to somebody,
that's an easy
it doesn't
one.
work. I sent out a postcard and nothing happened. Just one. What was the list about? All of that, And if direct mail was dead, how come Google keeps sending us postcards about using Google
Right.
AdWords?
You know, I think we said it on a previous episode. Is like the reason people say something is dead is so they can sell a new solution to replace it, right? So
Absolutely.
that's okay for all the shiny object people who want to grab that new thing. And hey, we're guilty of it too. We've grabbed those things just to check them out, but we don't also give up on our things that work. And direct mail works, webinars work, social media works. But you know, again, diversity creates stability. The more things you have working at the same time, the more likely you are to produce a result. And so that's pretty awesome. So any final words? Any miscellaneous myths or myths. I forget what our theme was.
Marketing myths, all of those crazy things that you hear people say. Like there's so much to, you know, my customer is only on LinkedIn. It's like,
right.
That's a lie. Like your customer is on Facebook too, and they are on, you know, and here's the problem with that is that you think that your customer is only on LinkedIn, but when they are on LinkedIn, they are in business mode. So they're not liking the engagement on LinkedIn is silly. So your key is get them off of social as soon as you can so that now you can get them into a place where you can talk to them and have a real conversation. Because at the end of the day, it's all about talking to people.
I mean, hell, you'd probably reach more of your clients on YouPorn than you would on LinkedIn, right?
Not my clients. Are you kidding me? Never my client. Never.
Sergeant Chuck. All right. Well, listen, this has been a great episode, and Marketing Mythbusters. We have plenty to bust, and we will be back again next month with more Marketing Mythbusters. Listen, we have a free gift for you at Most Incredible Marketing Show Ever. Please check it out. There's a free gift from all of our expert panelists. And if you'd like to follow us, we're on every Thursday, but you can get previous episodes at YouTube at Most Incredible Marketing Show. And so I want to thank my expert panel here. Thanks so much for being here. As always, you are awesome. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for being a great host.